Robert Kiyosaki, big leader in the financial influencer space, came out and said recently that he believes that a federal ban of the Airbnb that we've known and loved for years could cause the next housing market crash, and the time to get rich is soon. Let's read exactly what he tweeted. He tweeted on September 6th, and this got over like 8 million views, this tweet did, saying Airbnb, which I don't know who spells Airbnb and doesn't make the and an N, it looks weird. But he says, to lead the real estate market crash. If you want a new home, your happy days are around the corner. Same for rental property. The best time to get rich is in a crash. Good luck.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
So let's break this down numbers-wise, what he's talking about here. He's talking about what's already happened in parts of California and New York City, where they have put a ban on the use of Airbnb for short-term rentals. The main reason being that they're losing money from like their local hotels. That homeowners who are taking their own home and renting out a room or renting out the entire property are basically hurting the local economy. And so other cities, the biggest one being New York City, are actually banning Airbnb. But Airbnb could be on the cusp of a federal ban, and if that were to happen, could it just topple the real estate market and make a deal more accessible? Let's examine it. The first question to ask is, how many Airbnbs are there? And if you look it up, there's currently, single-family home-wise, 1.6 million homes that are being utilized for Airbnb short-term rental. Now, Airbnb is not the only short-term rental company. So that's 1.6 million homes that are being utilized for a weekend, a day, or even a week-long rental, as opposed to a typical rental property, which you're paying per month and you're there for a year, maybe two. Now let's shift to the real estate market and how this could affect it. Now, we currently, as we sit here in October, shoot this video in 2023, have just over 670,000 homes that are active on the real estate market throughout the entire country. Single family homes that could be purchased right now. Now, the difference between that market then and now is we actually have a much lower buyer demand due to factors like inflation being where it's at, affordability being tight, and credit card debt, interest rates, everything is higher as it sits right now in comparison to 2008. And that has forced less people to want to buy a home. But with the low inventory we have right now, we are still seeing prices going up. And if Airbnb's 1.6 million homes were to come to market, well, what will happen is we'll have an influx of supply with our buyer demand probably staying low. So with those two variables of a giant leap in the amount of homes that are available for purchase, while buyer demand, the amount of people that want to buy a home, stays relatively the same, that causes a crash. That causes price points to come down drastically. And how many homes of that 1.6 million would actually have to go to market to see a price drop? Well, the answer is right about 650 to 700,000. As it sits, if we were to get to 1.3, 1.4 million listings throughout the United States, with the current buyer demand we have, that would start to, theoretically, lower price points on homes. And the reason prices would go down is because there'll be more homes to buy than there are buyers that want to buy them. And that forces sellers to have to lower their prices, negotiate heavier, and wait longer for their home to sell, causing that price decrease. But I want to break down Robert's tweet against what will more than likely actually happen if Airbnb were to be federally banned, because we really only have 3 different types of Airbnb owners: people who are renting out rooms or a part of their property, people who are renting out 1 to 2, maybe 3 properties and still have a full-time job, normal lifestyle, and those that have retired off of Airbnb, 10, 15 plus. We'll talk about those 3 categories and who it affects most. Let's dive into this tweet. Outside of spelling Airbnb weird, leading to a real estate market crash is a big ask of only 1.6 million homes becoming potentially available for list. There is no guarantee, and frankly, no possible world where all of them hit the market. And frankly, I think half of them is still a huge number to talk about if it were to get banned. If you want a new home, your happy days are around the corner. Same for a rental property. I'm sorry, but I don't view a crash and happy days around the corner in the same category, because if you look at any crash, a crash that drastically affected the housing market, our most recent being 2008, you'll see a world where there's job loss. You'll see a world where people are thinking about their food, their electric bill, where they're going to live, how they're going to survive. We have so much pain going on. Meanwhile, could be a good time to buy a house. And he's not wrong that a crash is typically the best time to purchase a property, to get into stocks, to get that investment. But at the same exact time, putting a crash and happy times in the same sentence, I think is a bit unfair, because there's a lot of people that are going to have to suffer in order to have that crash happen. But after that, he says, same for a rental property. And I agree with this, actually. If we had a federal ban of Airbnb, we'd have a lot of short-term rentals that more than likely the owners would think, I'll just turn this into a long-term rental and we'll do it for 12 months or 24 months. They'll make a lot less per month, but it'll allow for more rentals to hit the market. Same supply and demand index we just talked about would lead toward rental prices decreasing. The best time to get rich is in a crash. Good luck. Again, I just don't like romanticizing the crash. A housing crash would be detrimental to so many people, most likely including the person on the other side of the screen, yourself. Think about it. If Airbnb actually did crash, let's talk about those three categories. Who would be most affected by that federal ban? There's three different types of people. The person renting their room, the person renting the other side of their property, they're just going to get a roommate or just say, never mind, can't get that little extra money I was getting, and life goes on. The second person's a person has 1, 2, maybe 3 that they're renting out. They still have full-time jobs. They aren't living off of their money they get from it, but they get a good amount of money from it. It's good. Those people may sell 1 or 2, but ultimately, more than likely, will either sell them and get their equity out, which is a possibility, I suppose, but more than likely, why not just turn them into long-term rentals and make less, but still have that producing income? Life goes on. Now, the person it affects the most is more than likely the third person, the person who has 10, 15, 20 Airbnbs and is living the life. They're traveling, don't have jobs, basically retired. If that income were to shrink drastically overnight, that person's going to be affected a lot. And if I had a client who was in that situation, here's exactly what I would suggest that they do. I would suggest that they sell anywhere from 5 to 7 of, let's say, their 15 properties and get the equity that they've gained over the last 2 to 3 years out of it, and just simply sit on their nest egg, turning the other properties that they're keeping into long-term rental properties, making less money, but between the rental income they're still receiving and the nest egg they got from selling maybe 5 to 7 other properties, they'll still be able to live the lifestyle that they're living, and life goes on. So no, I don't agree with Robert here, and quite honestly, I don't like his take on being able to put a crash and happy times in the same sentence and promising people the ability to get rich in the near future based off of something that he has no ability to control. And frankly, the numbers just don't work out, because even if the federal ban of Airbnb happened and 20%, which is a more realistic number of that 1.6 million end up selling, that's only 320,000 homes, and it's not going to drastically shift the market in any one direction, especially not going to lead us into a crash, because again, we had over 4 million homes on the market when the buyer demand disappeared in 2008. We do not have the inventory currently on the housing market to support a crash. So I'm going to tell you, happy times are around the corner. If you're investing your time and your money into growing a nest egg, getting your credit score up, and doing the things needed to get into a property and not relying on a crash. Get prepared, do all the things needed to get the home. And if it does crash, great. You get an opportunity if you still have your job, if your savings and stocks aren't affected, if all of these ifs. So what you should do is simply prepare for the number one if you already know. If you want to buy a home, you got to be financially qualified. So do what you need to do. And if you own a home and you don't know what to do because you think, oh, home prices could go down because of Airbnb, I wouldn't fear. I wouldn't lose sleep. And I wouldn't do too much stressing about that. I think your home's value is very safe. And if you'd love to know your home's value personally, you can reach out to us over here at Loft Realty. Almost off my words there. But looking forward to our next video clip where we're going through more of what's going on in the exact Delaware state housing market and what's been happening over the last 3 years. I'll pop that video right here. But until then, chat with you soon. And if you're looking to list in Delaware, list with Loft.